Welcome to the Security in 5 podcast. I'm Drew, the binary blogger. This is a daily show talking about news, tips, and opinions focused on IT and cybersecurity related topics for everyone. I believe we all have some security responsibility, whether it's at your home, school, work, or personal life as we use technology. The more aware you are of the security world around you, the more secure you can be. Thank you for listening. This is Security in 5. Episode 974, Security in 5, and today I want to talk about a major cyber attack that happened once again on a core infrastructure of the United States. And this was the cyber attack against Colonial Pipeline, which is a pipeline company or an oil refinery company that pumps oil from the Gulf state refineries to the mid-Atlantic states across a more than 5,500-mile network of pipelines from Texas up to New Jersey. Now, this cyber attack was supposedly carried out by a group called DarkSide. They are a ransomware group, and this was a ransomware attack. So somehow they gained access into the systems, applied ransomware, and shut their systems down, which caused the major pipelines to stop pumping, which is now threatening to cause a very significant gas shortage across the mid-Atlantic states, and quite certainly a major ripple effect on prices nationwide. And this one is pretty bad. But earlier on, we talked about, in prior episodes, talked about attacks on local water supplies, water pumps, adding more chemicals or cleaning chemicals into it, poisoning the water supply, those types of things, power substations, small brownouts here and there, that sort of thing. But now we have an attack against a major infrastructure supplying very much needed and very relied upon fuel to the mid-Atlantic states, the most populous side of the United States, from New York all the way down to Florida. And this just goes to show you that the infrastructure attacks are a very significant problem, because here we have fuel, and if fuel is shut off, then that has a ripple effect through not only through the economy, but through functions, processes, emergency services, trucking, shipping, trains, whatever, all the different types of fuel, not just gas for your cars, but all different types of fuel used in all different types of products and mechanisms. This pipeline fueled the airline fuel for the Atlanta airport, which is the largest passenger airport in the country. And these types of things, you impact an airport, planes can't get fueled, planes can't take off. That has a ripple effect, and it's cascading. But the infrastructure attack, well, you've heard it for probably 2 decades now, of how vulnerable it is. So here we have a refinery system connected to the internet, obviously, because they came in, and have a infrastructure where ransomware shut them down. And what needs to happen is, we don't need to be upgrading infrastructure, the mechanics or the infrastructure in and of itself. We need to get security teams and IT teams into these technology solutions and overhaul them, retrofit them. It's going to probably cost hundreds of millions of dollars across, probably even more, maybe going to the billions of dollars. But when you get in there and get teams to look at the architecture, to look at the security laydowns, I don't know. I don't have any knowledge or direct insight to any of these. All I can do is reflect onto my experience for the last several years as a consultant, going into companies and helping them retrofit and get ready for the cloud. And it's just extrapolate to that to say that I would assume that their networks are very flat. Their networks are access overprivileged, meaning that it's a lot easier for admins to walk around from system to system, network to network, if they have subnetworks or subnets or however they're architected, than it is to put in least privilege, put in isolation, put in these blocks, put in these checks, isolate the secured networks, take them off the internet if they don't need to, build bootstrap servers into the pumping systems. Why does it need to be on the internet? And that sort of thing. There are multiple ways to gain remote access to it rather than exposing to it. Do everything you can to limit the blast radius of a ransomware getting in and moving laterally within an environment and wiping you out. Good backups, to have a zero tolerance policy, that if you have a system get infected by ransomware, don't attempt to recover or remove the ransomware. It's gone. You wipe it, you restore whatever the hours are between the last backup to the restore. That is your cost. That is the pain that you feel, and you restore and move on. The ransomware success and failure of it is its ability to find systems that do not follow those types of practices, that do not follow those levels of architecture, that are indeed irreplaceable for that organization, that cannot be replaced or cannot afford it to be replaced, depending on what is on it, what is encrypted. If you remove that, decentralize the criticality or the single point of failure of those systems from ransomware, then you can suck it up and say, oh, it was backed up last night at midnight. It's 11 a.m. Okay, we're going to lose 11 hours of productivity and data. That's the cost of the failure, and move on. Don't feed into the ransomware attackers. And that's really what you have to get to. It is expensive. It is difficult. It requires more IT. It requires more security. It requires more time and more maintenance and oversight to maintain a system like that. But here we have a country now on the East Coast that some gas stations are running out of fuel. Gas prices are going to go up. The damage is going to far exceed the cost it is to turn around and do an architectural overhaul on something this critical. And that's when you want to talk about infrastructure, and hear our politicians, lawmakers, and whatever talk about this. It's not upgrading the pipelines. It's not strengthening the fences around it. It's truly the IT and security overhauls that need to happen to protect the infrastructure, because these attackers, they're not sitting at the terminals. They're overseas, they're on the internet, they're everywhere. They could be anywhere in the world. And the size and the amount of barbed wire around a fence isn't going to stop a ransomware attack. Security in 5. Be aware, be safe. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Security in 5. If you have any questions on today's episode or any suggestions for future content, feel free to drop me a line, reach out to me at Twitter, post a question on the Reddit channel, or go ahead and drop me an email. If you want to continue to support the show, you can head over to the Patreon site. All the links are in the show notes of every episode. And remember, be aware, be safe. Thanks for listening.